Hello, welcome back. I'm Byron. This is Sid Meier's Civilization 3, Conquest. We are playing as the Macedonians on the Rise of Rome scenario. And Rome is not going to rise. We have essentially crushed them. It's just a matter of cleaning up now. Rome itself still stands, but it won't for long. Even though we're making quick work of this, and it might not be a good investment, quote unquote, in taking these cities, it does crush Rome, which is a good thing. But of course, like I said before, that makes Carthage more powerful. Oh, look at that! Rome has taken some Sicilian cities. Yes, it'd definitely be good to leave these outlying towns as Rome. Anyway, today's top 10 list is top 10 books. I want to get a little bit creative with these top 10 lists. Top 10 books is not a good one. I have one I'm working on that I've been working on for a while that I just can't get together because I'm actually doing some research on it. I guess you could call it research. But it's sort of a creative one, but it's still along the top 10 books line a bit. It just takes a different approach to it, I guess. But when I had the idea for that one, that I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but that one I was just talking about, that's when I did the top 10 machines, which was really good if poorly executed, because I whipped that one together quickly. Because I couldn't do the other one in time. So that's sort of, I guess, the gold standard of where I want these top 10 lists to be. Yeah. Anyway, so top 10 books. Number 10, The Souls of Blackfoot. This is just in terms of a very well-written book, this is one of the best. I'll talk more about the themes later. But there's one segment where he describes Atlanta, and that's just amazing. And there's another, and before each chapter, he puts a Negro spiritual and a legitimate quote-unquote poem. And he puts them together. And this was written in, I think, 1901, maybe. It's before the Negro spiritual got its mythic status as the progenitor of all American music. That was a very rigid formulaic, and because I've said it before, I've said it many times, because I've talked about W.B. Du Bois. So that was a very rigid sentence. I apologize for that. It wasn't very spontaneous. And I sort of got tripped up on progenitor. But this is before so what he was doing was he was mixing sort of low poetry, because at the time that's what Negro spirituals were. It at least wasn't recognized, which sort of I'd be what I'm about to say, but I will. With the high poetry, I've seen T.S. Eliot credited as the first one to do this, but he's not. It was W.E.B. Du Bois in The Souls of Black Folk was the first one to do this. Number 9, Huckleberry Finn. It has the things, but it's in a lot of ways it's just a fun book sometimes. I'm not going to go into detail on that book. I've written something about it, and it's sitting there somewhere on the internet. I don't remember where I put it. But, Jim is a good character. Yeah, I'm not going to go into the word. I may do that at some point. Talk about the word. I'm not even going to say it here because I just don't want to talk about it. I'm not in the mood to talk about it right now. So that one, I'm just going to leave it at the very end because there's not much else to talk about without talking about all the controversial stuff. Number 8, Confessions. I have a list of books that I read. I've copied it from somewhere. It's a list of the great books of the world. And as I read through it, the first book of theology I read was Summa Theologica, and it was so boring I didn't finish it because I just had to quit. And but then I read Confessions. I was like, oh, this is gonna be boring, but it wasn't. It was a blast. St. Augustine is amazing. I have another book of his coming up soon. I can't wait to read it. The one line I remember is, I cried not. I cried when Dido died for her love of Aeneas, but I cried not when I died because of my lack of love for you. Great line. And that's actually maybe the closest to sort of a love song that I've never seen written, but I think could be a good one, is from the other perspective of the unrequited love, from the person who knows that someone else loves him or her, but just doesn't love him back, and sorry, there's nothing I can do about it, sort of like that, but a little bit more, because there could be complex emotions there too. So that'd be a fun one to do. I feel like I've talked about that here before. I think on Taylor Swift, I may have talked about that. Number 7, Letters from a Nut. This was back in the old Scholastic Book Fair days, which I reckon still go on, I don't really know. But the Scholastic Book Fair. Letters from a Nut was a series of letters written by some guy who calls himself Ted Nancy to various companies and organizations that are just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and they take him seriously and write him back. It's amazing. There's one where I've lost my Prussian battle sword, and they're like, we looked and looked, we could not find your Prussian battle sword. And then he sends them back a certificate for exemplary service. There's one where he goes to the Mary Todd Lincoln House. He writes them, and he goes, there's a book I'm trying to find. I think it's called I think it's called Crazy Mary Todd or something like that. And he goes, Mary Todd was a good woman who loved her husband very much. The book was called The Lunatic Mary Todd Lincoln. Just to put that right after she loved her husband very much. It was hilarious to me. I'm at war with the Gauls. I need to get the Goths on my side. I'll probably do that soon. This is, I think, the first time I'm recording on the last video I've done. Usually I've had a few more videos done before I start recording the audio. But, yeah. So I'm gonna, once I clear out Italy, I'm gonna take the war to the Gauls. Hopefully that'll increase my score and crush the Gauls, and I can turn and get some dent in Carthage before the game ends, and their score. Hopefully I will not lose on score. I really need to keep an eye on Carthage's score. I need to put some settlers maybe. Go out, but it might be too late. What turn is it? I pump out some settlers around this area I burned down of Persia. Oh, that might increase my score a bit. I don't know. Number 6, The Prince. Machiavelli, famous book about how to rule people, even though I don't rule people. It's a cool book. It's people are confused by the liberal nature of Machiavelli's other writings and this sort of very tyrannical idea. But in The Prince is an idea. The prince goes from the idea that, and it's actually, I think it's the first time I've ever seen this, but the fact that the prince has to be a tyrant has to make people fear him to stay in power, to make people or love him to stay in power. They have to stay in power. The people are the ones where the prince gets the power. That is so crucial. People overlook that. That's just, and throughout the entire book, The Prince, that's just assumed that a prince's power comes from the people. And that is how it fits in with the rest of his sort of philosophy. And even though it leads to some not so nice conclusions, the basic premise is extremely, for the time, liberal and democratic. So even he wrote another book about democracies and how they work, and he mentions that in The Prince. And in a democracy, the power of the government comes to the people, but even in a principality, a monarchy, the monarch's power comes from the people. You can't not have power that doesn't come from the people. That sentence may not have made sense, but if you, however you say that sentence, that fits in with the rest of everything I said. Number 5, Job. Very sad book. And one of the morals I've been doing, that's been affecting my life recently, is that God does not have to explain himself to you. You don't have to understand why things are happening in a certain way for God to want it to happen. You don't have to understand why he wants these things to happen. You just have to accept that he does. Anyway. What's some other stuff in Job that's nice? Job is innocent. That's the whole thing. Job is innocent. It says it for a fact. I have a lot written on Job. I write a lot about books. I think I told you last time about the book blog that I like. And I've written about Job, I think 3 times in that one. Anyway, but I'm having trouble remembering it and thinking of things to say. Because I kind of don't want to repeat myself. But also, I can't honestly remember at this moment the things that I said about Job. Number 4, Theory of the Leisure Class. It's economics work. It's a Marxist work, but it works without Marxism. And really, it's just a polemic against waste. Just don't be wasteful. That's the moral that I got from it. I know there's a lot of other things you could take from it, but don't buy things unless you're going to use them. And it really cautions against the whole, maybe some of you know this, maybe some of you don't, but there's some very expensive things that aren't very good, but people buy them because they're expensive. And he says, don't do that. Number 3. Rome is real. No, it's not. Napoli. I had to take Napoli and then Rome. On to Rome. I think, why am I? Oh, it's with the army. Oh, and I remember what happens here. This was sad, because this army really was good. I think I remember what happened. You know, I actually, looking at the screen, I can't see the health bar. Anyway, I thought he died. Maybe he died later. Spoiler alert! Number 3, Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X. Great book. I'm a huge fan of the civil rights movement, largely because of this book and because of the Souls of Black Vote. I've read other books about the civil rights movement. They're good, but they just do not live up to the standards of those two. One is Carry Me Home. It's not that good, but it's a good learning thing. It's not a great book to read, but it's good sort of for learning about the civil rights movement. And not a book, but the Letter from Birmingham Jail is pretty good. So I did put that on the list because it's not a book, it's a letter. Although I did put Letters from a Nut. I think here it comes. Huge fan of the civil rights movement, and I think I said I was going to say some stuff. Maybe I said all I wanted to say, but me being a fan of the civil rights movement. Oh, and Malcolm X. My favorite part, each chapter was better than the last. It just kept getting better, the book. I mean, when he was a kid, wasn't that nice? Wasn't that great a book? But then he's a hustler, that's cool. Then he goes to jail, it's even better. Then he starts the Nation of Islam. Then he gets betrayed by Elijah Muhammad. And then the best part of the book, the single best part of the book, is the Alex Haley epilogue that Alex Haley put in. That's just incredible. If you don't read any other epilogue, read that epilogue. Number 2, Hitchhiker. High school, middle school, loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I read it constantly. I had the big 5-volume set, and I took it everywhere with me. And apparently that was of note to some people. It's just a great book. And I remember I read it in school, and I read it, the great 42 scene. I read it to my friends after I read it, because it's such a part of the culture. You'd think I would have known what was coming that before it happened, but I didn't. To me, it was a shock, and it was hilarious. And it said, the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything is, yes, is, yes, is, come on already, 42. And it was so amazing. I showed all my friends loved it. It was the best thing ever. Oh, there's more. Here's at the news segment, but I'm bringing my phone. Uncover more Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon secrets. There seem to be more Ultra Beasts from the thumbnail. So more Ultra Beasts. Okay, number 1, Critique of Judgment by Immanuel Kant. I was not looking forward to this. Critique of Pure Reason, Critique of Practical Reason. I read those a while back, and it was a long time before I read the Critique of Judgment. Wasn't looking that forward to it because I didn't. Critique of Pure Reason, Critique of Practical Reason were good books. Better to hear about them in a lecture. But Critique of Judgment is an amazing book. It's all about why things are beautiful, and it's great. And I just cannot recommend it more. I don't know. Maybe you should start philosophy with the Genealogy of Morals by Nietzsche, but this you gotta read early on. Anyway, been fun. Love talking to you. I'm marching on Rome. This is great. I'll see you later.